Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It's time. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've been doing a daily dose of Classic. But, you know, we had the Classic Beta come back open. We had a little bit of stress test action. We had a lot of fun on stream, okay? But today we're back to have a little bit more fun.
Cask is just resubbed for 4 months. Ayaya. Thanks for the beta key, by the way, Ayaya.
I don't have beta keys. Unbelievable. So, we're back to do Daily Dose of Classic. And today what we're going to look at, and I haven't looked at it yet, it is the Classic Developer AMA on Reddit, which happened earlier today. It did. It did happen a little bit earlier today. Gretzky, thank you for the 2 months. Caskish, thank you for the 4 months. Millhouse, thank you for the 8 months. Ah, exquisite. So, reddit.com/r/classicwow. There we go. Very good. Welcome to the r/classicwow subreddit AMA with the Classic WoW dev team. So, again, this isn't something that I've looked at yet. I kind of wanted to look at it fresh. I like doing, for Daily Dose, I kind of like doing that because I think it's just what it is, right? It's how stream content is. You get a real instant reaction. So it looks like, hey everyone, today we're excited to introduce what should be a fantastic AMA with the wonderful WoW Classic dev team. They'll be taking your questions about anything, be it which class they enjoy playing the most, or all the way to how they develop the wonderful world we will all be inhabiting in just under a week. Altruist WoW, executive producer. Kromshi, senior game producer. Pazarax, lead software engineer. Ogrons, senior software engineer. Zoid, principal software engineer. Agrand, senior test lead. And Kyvax, community manager. I kind of wish they would have said their actual, like, who they actually are. Like, because we've probably met some of these people. Okay, so Altruist. Okay, this is John. John Hyde. Pazarax is Brian Birmingham. And then Kyvax, we know Kyvax. Okay, very good. Let's see. The AMA begins. We already know this. It's already passed. And check out this fantastic resource. Did they just make it to where it's all the questions? Okay, frick. Are you serious? Make these bigger. Super Soka. Unbelievable. Is there a better breakdown of this? We'll look at Wowhead, you said? Classic.wowhead.com. Where's the Wowhead link? Oh, they did everything. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Kyvax, my man, dude. Okay, from Altruist WoW, executive producer. What exactly are the pop caps for a layer? And extrapolating from that, what are the server pop thresholds roughly indicating? What makes a server low versus medium versus high? We're not releasing specific numbers that will likely change dramatically. Based on the response we got from name reservations, we're anticipating large player populations from some realms initially. This may change as players switch to lower pop realms. We'll use layers to help improve performance in the short term if large groups of players cluster in an area. We hope to reduce the use of layering over time as people spread out in each realm. Okay, so we're under the impression that a layer is just about, it's intended to be the size of an original vanilla server cap, right? Because if you're making one copy of like the world for like 2,500, 3,000 people, and everything's the same as it used to be, then everything kind of scales up, like as far as like node spawns, mob spawns, all this stuff, in order to kind of keep kind of the server ecosystem flowing properly. So that is the assumption, is that the population caps for layer is somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000. That is the assumption, but I guess they're not saying 100% for sure. I'm assuming they're going to, they talked about this in the Q&A we did on my YouTube channel. We posted it where we got a chance to go, like, it was like a group interview kind of thing. It was like a press conference type thing. And they talked about how it's like, they can crank it up to 11 if they want. Like, population stuff is adjustable. So I would assume that that's kind of how they're going to look at it. Do you have a contingency plan to deal with larger than expected population? Suppose as many people create characters in the 24 hours before and after launch as have done so already. How quickly will you be able to add new servers? Okay. We have a contingency plan. We have contingency plans in place to bring up additional realms quickly if needed. We may also integrate character transfers. This ultimately became a service in original WoW. As you can imagine, it's difficult for us to gauge how many people will come to play Classic and stay on to experience max level content. Ultimately, we want to see realms with healthy, stable populations. So we'll try to match demand without inadvertently creating low population realms in the process. I think their approach for this, like their philosophy, is good. Right? Like you don't want to make a bunch of low pop servers that end up dying and then you have to merge them. That's a nightmare. You don't want to have to do that. Also, character transfers. A lot of people have asked about this. I think that this is more than likely eventually going to become a thing, because even in vanilla WoW, they had character transfers. I know because I got one. I know because I got character transfers. Whenever I went from Illidan to Kel'Thuzad after the next patch, I think it was. So, yeah. Ron Plays Games, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Lord Leland, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Zanky, thank you for the 100 bits. Pinky out when you're drinking the nectar of the gods. Come on. Like, this is a very classy stream, okay? And we drink very classily. Talking about free realm transfers, I don't remember if I think they had them paid. I can't remember. I got a free one. I know I got a free one, but I think they had them paid too. With so many of the classic servers showing full population already, a few questions. How long do you expect the queues to be? What do you consider to be an acceptable queue to log in? What steps do you have in mind to remedy the situation if not enough people are moving off the full servers, given that a lot of people will still want to roll on them to join friends, guildmates already out there? Can we expect free server transfers further down the line if the situation doesn't sort itself out? This kind of goes in line with the last question. Hi. We've answered these questions in more detail in other posts, but I'll try to summarize the answers for you. Based on the name reservations we've seen, the queue time on some realms will be extremely long. We've opened up additional realms, and we are encouraging people to set up their characters on lower population realms for a better experience. This is a good time to coordinate with your friends and guilds to switch if they've reserved names on a full realm. We're considering integrating character transfer services later on when players have higher level characters. Something to think about. Going off of name res, I think they absolutely should have done that. Yeah, I think that is... I think that approach was home run, knock it out of the park. That was smart. Now, with that being said, there's a whole lot of people who haven't reserved their names who are going to be playing Classic. I think the name reservation idea was a wonderful idea. That was smart. So basically what they're saying here is they have opened up new realms and they're trying to tell people to play on other realms, on other servers. So you should play on other servers. And they're considering character transfers if it gets really bad later on. That's what they're considering. So that's basically the answer to that. You guys are saying rip answer like they didn't answer. I think that's pretty I mean, each sentence here kind of answers the question. You just got to be able to have like a decent level of comprehension. Will paid transfers also be a thing? Should a server drop heavily in population and a player wishes to move and to find more activity to reconvene with friends on another server? A lot of people keep asking the same question. We're considering integrating a character transfer service once players have reached higher levels. This was available in the original WoW. We'll look at the rules we imposed at that time and also discuss the implications of players moving to a new realm. We believe realm identity is an important aspect of Classic, so any guidelines around transfers should support this belief. What have I been saying? What have I been saying about server pride? I've been talking about server pride just about all week. I'm really, really glad that that line is right there because I think server pride is such an important thing in Classic WoW. I mean, and I've used these examples before, but you look back and it, like historically, look at like vanilla Burning Crusade. When you played on Illidan, you told people, oh man, I'm from Illidan. I played on Illidan. I played on Tychondrius, BG9, Nightfall Battle Group. I played on Kel'Thuzad. There's so many servers, there's so many realms out there that with like a rich history to them, and they became kind of like infamous, right? When you say, oh, I played on Illidan, people immediately, what do you think of when you hear Illidan? There's one thing that comes to like everybody's mind whenever you think of Illidan. Illidrama. Edgy Teens, Blood Legion. Okay, the funeral raid. Thank you. That took way too long. That took way like. Come on, guys. I mean, come on. I thought that was gonna be. I thought that was a layup, dude. Come on. So look, a lot of times when people talk about Illidan in vanilla, a lot of people remember. Oh, that's the server where the funeral raid happened, right? Maybe I missed it. Okay, maybe Cyvac said it earlier. My bad, Cyvac. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, I think server identity and things that happen on your server are a big deal, right? So something else that we should consider is we'll look at the rules we imposed at that time and also discuss the implications of players moving to a new realm. Now, back in the day, I don't know if they would still impose this rule because it looks like they're considering it, but they're not sure. That's what I'm reading by this. Back in the day, if you played on a PvE server, they did not let you transfer to a PvP server because they did not want people. This was literally the reason. They did not want people going from PvE to PvP and then complaining on the forums and everywhere about them getting ganked. That is literally the reason why they didn't do that. I very specifically remember reading that. I don't know if they would follow up with that rule. I mean, it looks like it's definitely something that's in consideration, but that definitely was something. Will there be paid services for Classic? We aren't considering other services beyond character transfer at this time. So when they say, will they be paid? We're not considering anything other than beyond character transfer. That means paid character transfers might be a thing. I hope that the character services stays limited to server transfers because things like character boosts would break my heart. Like what? To me, like I'm gonna be honest. Character boosts are not keeping with Classic. We don't want to break any hearts. And I don't mean to be rude. To me, this feels like a wasted question. Like, why? Like, there's no point in even asking this. You know they're not going to do character boosts. If anything, like, this is something that's been well discussed, and I think most people who've talked about this have agreed they had character transfers in vanilla. It wouldn't be out of the question for them to have character transfers eventually in Classic 2, right? I think to act like this is a big deal you're kind of just being ridiculous, right? But I don't think anybody is acting like this is a big deal, so it's not really a point. What are the plans after Phase 6? More content for Classic or moving to TBC? We've done most of the hard work by bringing back... Oh, I've talked about this before. We've done most of the hard work by bringing back 1.12, so progressing to BC would be a lot easier for us. Our plan is to identify everything we need to do should we ever decide to go this route. We want to be sensitive to the desires of our players. Some may want BC and some may not. We'll be following the Classic community closely to help determine what our next steps should be. So, I have said this before. I think by them starting the Legion client and downporting it down to Classic, they've basically done all the hard work. I'm really glad they confirmed this, because this was we talk about this on stream all the time. We think that's the assumption. So confirmed. All the hard work is done to go to BC. Is it like a flip of the switch? You can go to BC? No, probably not. But it's probably a whole hell of a lot easier than it was to do this, right? It's probably a crap ton easier than it was to make Classic WoW, to make WoW Classic. So I personally think that Burning Crusade would be a really, really good idea. I think Burning Crusade would be awesome. I think it's something that a lot of people want to see. I think a lot of people want to see Wrath of Lich King. But I do also think a Classic Plus could potentially be really, really good as well. Don't get me wrong. I just think that if this happens, it should not be at the expense of this, at the cost of TBC. I think TBC is a priority. I think this is not the priority over TBC, over Burning Crusade. I think Burning Crusade is definitely what they should do after Classic. And then maybe after this is done, maybe planning on some kind of Classic Plus situation or something like that. We can talk about it. That's how I feel. Classic Plus Arena, brand new raids. No Arena. You wouldn't put Arena. I might talk one day about what I would expect for a Classic Plus and what I would like to see. I've talked about it in the past, but I have a lot more thoughts on it now, and my opinion has probably changed on a few things as well. So, but that's not something to talk about now. I think TBC is, from my opinion, TBC is the priority, even though I would love to see a Classic Plus or something if it's done the right way after TBC. Can someone link this? Sure. There you go. Okay. What is the stance on people trading gold from Classic realms for gold on BFA realms and vice versa? I hope this will not be an unsupported trade, but actually against rules and bannable offense. If people can trade gold between two versions of the game, then they can still effectively buy gold by selling a WoW token on BFA servers and then trading the gold. There's no direct means for characters in BFA to transfer gold to characters in WoW Classic. This would be highly disruptive for Classic, as the economies of these two games are very different. Gold exchange between players in WoW is subject to our terms of service. Purchase gold from third parties could lead to suspension or banning of accounts. So here's what I'm seeing. Basically, it's at their discretion. Basically, they can decide who, and this is how, let me tell you something. This is how any sort of, they didn't dodge the question. They told you we're going to ban you if you feel like it. That's what they said. Any sort of TOS that's ever written is written this way. Every sort of rule set, TOS, anything that's written well, they basically write something in there, a clause that's like, you know what? We can ban you if we want to. That's how it is. That is how it is. That's just the reality of it. So that's basically what they're saying is it's subject to our terms of service. They can ban you if they want to. Easy ban, easy clap ban. Why would someone who farmed up gold on Classic want to get BFA gold? And that's the next point I was going to talk about, Evil Kotrak. I mean, there's going to be people who play both, but I don't like... There's going to be people who play both. I don't see why you would want to give away gold in retail for Classic. The economies are too different. The only thing that really relates between the two is... Did they say token? Oh, here it is. The only thing that relates between the two is token, right? The only reason that you would really want BFA gold is for a WoW token. That's the way that I see it. But as far as like the usability, for me, I don't really play a whole lot of retail. Gold for me feels worthless. Considering the nature of WoW Classic and why people love it, what other tweaks to things that the vanilla community dislike be on the table? Examples: no LFG and Wrath, undoing some blatant unneeded homogenization and patches, possible eye level squish and TBC. See, at this point, you know what this is? This... to me, no LFG and Wrath. I think if you have Wrath, you have LFG. You know, there's things in Classic that not everything in Classic is perfect, right? You got to take the good with the bad. Well, look, here's the thing. You guys say, look, you guys are saying what's wrong with me? Why do I want LFG and Wrath? Look, I didn't play Wrath, but I'm telling you, like, you guys say no changes, no changes. This is saying no LFG, no this. That's like the same thing as people saying they should put class balance changes in vanilla WoW. Eye level squish and TBC and Wrath so that old content was not marginalized. Why are you going to add an eye level squish? Like what do you got? Like it's not a bad take. I'm saying like you're being biased. Like obviously I hated what? Obviously I hated LFG. I still do. I don't like it at all. But I'm just being honest. Chat's being biased? Yeah, you guys are being biased because you guys are vanilla fans, just like I am. But like, you got to take a step back and look at it objectively. Now, I do think that looking at everything 100% no changes down to a T doesn't really work all the time. And I've talked about that before. Because some things are inherently different, and I'm not talking about the intangibles. I'm not talking about better internet, better gamers, better computers, not the intangibles. Some things, some design decisions that they've already made going back naturally changes some things, right? So that's a separate thing. But what I'm saying is that I think more than likely, they're probably going to keep this stuff. Now, if I have my way, my selfish Esfand way, the way that I would want it, you know what I would say? Of course no LFG and Wrath. You had the stream muted for the last hour. Can I say it all again? Well, frick, dude, unbelievable. If 90% of the player base were to vote and say no to LFG, why would you have to take the good with the bad? I mean, if that's the case, then that's the case, right? I know I certainly don't like LFG. I'm just being objective. All right? I'm just telling you how it is. Because to me, it's like if they go with the same sort of design philosophies and design principles that they're taking with Classic WoW, that's the way they're going to look at it. If they decide, you know what, trying to go 100% no changes and stuff because of some design decisions that we've made doesn't really work out, sure. If 90% of people don't want LFG and Wrath, great. The selfish Esfand way works out because I certainly don't want it. Big Poe Collector, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Bath Boy, thank you for the tier 1 5 months. 5 whole months. I guess I'm going to have to buy you a ring soon. Thanks, Bath Boy. Murasland, thank you for the 3 months. Esfand, can I get my beta key? I've been in your basement for 3 months now. No. GPU TV, thank you for the tier 1 4 months. Where's my Shazra EU boys at? Thank you, man. Lord Leland, Twitch Prime. Thank you, dude. I've got that already, actually. Okay. LFG was the beginning of the downfall of social interaction. I agree. I feel like you either go 100% no change for all legacy content or not. If you start dabbling with both sides, you'll upset more people than please. I don't know. I don't know, Conch. I don't know. I'm unsure about that. Like, I mean, if most, like I said, if most people don't want this, then wonderful, right? Because I hate LFG. I've talked about LFG extensively. I've talked about LFR extensively, why I don't like it. I think that it's very much like we live in a society, 2019, Tinder, swipe right, swipe left. Everything is very trivial, not real interactions, not real relationships that you're building with people. Like, there's so many things to talk about with LFG and LFR. But yeah. Let's read this again one more time. We're looking into what would be required to support BC and Wrath should we decide to go that route. The guiding principle for WoW Classic was staying faithful to the original game. So The guiding principle for WoW Classic was staying faithful to the original game. We're looking into what would be required to support BC and Wrath should we decide to go that route. Meaning just because, so what does this mean? This means just because they had certain design principles for WoW Classic doesn't mean they're going to have those same design principles necessarily for Burning Crusade and Wrath. What does that mean? That means it's on the table. So what are the design principles of WoW Classic? WoW Classic panel BlizzCon 2018. We'll look at this one more time. We've looked at this before. Is this at the 30-minute mark? Do I remember this properly? I was wrong. It's at the 31-minute mark. Okay. Okay. So these are the principles. These are the design principles of WoW Classic. Deliver an authentic experience. How do I go night mode? Okay. Deliver an authentic experience. High priority on integrity of social dynamics and avoid messing with 1.12 data. So, if they approach Wrath and Burning Crusade with the same philosophy, Fivehead, then they probably will have LFG and Wrath, for example. Now, they say right here they're still trying to look at what would be required, and the guiding principle was staying faithful to the original game. So what they're doing is they're stating that this is what Classic was. This is what they wanted to do with Classic. But if they 100% decide to go this route, then they're looking into how they would want to approach those design decisions. That's what they're saying. LFG is contradictory to their second philosophy, though. I completely agree. And I also think, and I talked about this in another Daily Dose of Classic, where delivering an authentic experience is actually contradictory to the third point. Avoid messing with the 1.12 data. Because whenever you're giving the 1.12 version of 1.2 content, you're really not delivering an authentic experience at the beginning of Classic, which is one of my big concerns. This is one of my big concerns. And I talked about this in another Daily Dose already, where you're potentially making the content much easier. Like, for example, you have Asmund talk about it on a stream all the time, where he's like, oh, Classic is easy, it's going to be a joke, this and that. I think in a lot of ways, Asmund is right about that, but he's right for the wrong reasons. It's not, oh, there's no mechanics, there's no this. It's like, no. That's not why you're right. You're right because, or you might be right because they've made the player stronger and they've made the content weaker. So naturally, you've taken this gap and you've you know what I mean? It's like you're adding a handicap to the game. So, like I said, I agree with Asmund. I agree at the end result of what Asmund is saying. I don't agree with the back end of it. So, no, I don't think he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong necessarily, because I do think Classic is probably going to be easy or easier than a lot of people expect. I very much agree with that. I'm wrong? Oh, okay, thanks, dude. Okay. It's less clear what our direction should be with BC and Wrath. As you point out, it's likely that some features of these expansions will not be universally embraced by the Classic community. We'll be following player progression and sentiment to help guide us in our next steps. How are you going to deal with gold sellers and cheaters? I don't know where my sunglasses are. WoW Classic has much better means for detections than the original WoW. All WoW players are subject to our terms of service. Violation could result in suspension or banning of accounts. Will you offer free realm transfers if servers get way overpopulated after launch? This is definitely one of the options we're considering, but for now we're encouraging players to use the name reservation period to transfer their characters to lower population realms. Electrin, thank you for the Twitch Prime 2 months. Big Poe Collector, thank you for the Twitch Prime. No changes, Force and CD. On the Herod and Shazra servers, assuming population stays like it currently is, can you provide some rough idea of what you expect the minimum time in queue to be at launch? Can you elaborate in any way on some of the expected queue lengths, preferably in length of time at launch? On the most popular servers, such as Herod and Shazra, we're currently estimating lengthy queue times, up to several hours or more in certain instances. That is why we strongly encourage players to use the name reservation period to transfer their characters and their guilds to lower pop realms. I'm gonna be honest. Herod would not be nearly as overpopulated if the server name sucked or if the other servers had better names. That is Blizzard's fault because people are dumb and they care too much about how cool their server sounds when it doesn't even matter after you log in. Been like, are you kidding me? Like, that's literally what happened. Like, if Herod was called like Old Blanchy or freaking Marshall Dugan, like nobody like be like, that server sucks. I'm not gonna play there. Like, look at what happened to Mirage Raceway. Does anybody even remember that's a real server? Hello? Like, I mean, come on. That is Blizzard's fault, okay? Herod was too cool of a name. Herod is way too cool of a name. They either should have not made it Herod or they should have made the other servers have cooler names. Scarum is cool. You know what? A lot of people don't know this. Whenever they play Scarum, it's actually has a different Scarum. The server is coded a little bit differently. It randomly puts you to 4 separate layers. Like at different, once the server gets 25% full, it just makes 4 separate layers, every single 25%. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. It's really, really good. So let's see. On the hair, oh yeah, we already read that one. Will Manker's wife be moved to recreate an authentic vanilla experience? No changes. Yeah, no changes. Yeah, that was a mechanics joke. Vanilla has no mechanics. Vanilla has no mechanics. Suck my balls. What? What does success look like for Classic WoW of the Dev Team? Success for us is that players enjoy the game. True. We hope that those who played back in the day are overcome with nostalgia, great memories, and reconnect with old friends. We hope that new players get to experience this iconic time in MMO history and experience the world with new friends. Indubitably. Feel strong, man. It's not nostalgia, though. Okay. During the development of Classic, did you stumble over any Easter eggs or secrets that the community never discovered? You think so? Do you guys think there was stuff? When we were going through the original source code, we uncovered a few inline developer comments. It was super interesting to read them, like messages from the past. One of the most colorful comments I enjoyed was in reference to adding spells. Whatever you do, don't get them wet. Don't worry, that's never been a problem for me, unfortunately. Will we see a maintenance downtime in the morning after launch? We're not currently planning a maintenance downtime for the morning after launch. What will you do if all the realms are capped out at launch day with massive queues? Will you continue to put up realms until the demand is met? As Altruist WoW said elsewhere, we have contingency plans in place to bring up additional realms quickly if needed. So if the servers just get like just full on blasted, then it looks like they have like emergency servers ready to be like, hey, we're gonna open up a new server. This is not working. I doubt they do more than one. I doubt they do more than one on launch. Because I feel like they will be scared to put up too many. That's what I think. We took a careful approach here, taking various things into consideration. We wanted to hold true to our main objective of ensuring healthy realm communities in a post-launch world. Therefore, we felt that the best approach here was to start off with fewer realms in order to gauge player interest, during the name reservation period. As we have seen players congregate on certain types of realms, we have opened up new realms with communication to that effect. While we acknowledge that queues will be part of the launch experience, we encourage players to keep an eye on the forums and message boards over the next days and weeks for communications around realms with lower populations and therefore more manageable queue times. What was the feeling in the office when the team suspected, then learned that WoW Classic was an official project? I imagine some people groaned, others excited or didn't care. What was the general vibe? The team was very, very excited. The biggest challenge we faced with this project was figuring out whether we could pull this off from a technical perspective. But once we proved that it was possible and we stood up a reference client, there was no looking back. So a lot of you guys have probably heard the story, but when they're talking about the reference client, this refers to, I think, Caden. I think Sakar, Caden / Sakar / Yithasins. He goes by many names, the man of many identities. He said, I think about 8 months. He said about 8 months prior to the Classic announcement is whenever they basically found out that Classic was actually going to be a thing. And it was basically Omar that went through and kind of as a side project was trying to get the original 1.12 client to even run on their like modern server architecture, network architecture, whatever you call it. So Omar got it like up and running and got it to work, and he was kind of like, guys? And everybody was like, Pog you. And next thing you know, bing, bang, bong, Classic happened. So that's kind of how it all started. I think that's what they talked about. I think that's how it went. Yeah. If you guys don't understand what I'm saying, that's like that's very like high-end like industry jargon that I was using, so it might be a little bit hard to understand, but hey. What are plans for phase 2 if some realms are horrifically overpopulated at 50k plus players? Will layering stay? I bet Jay was super excited too. Okay, I heard that he was actually one of the biggest proponents of Classic. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that he was one of the people that really wanted Classic. He just said some dumb ish. Cap. Okay. What are plans for phase 2 if some realms are horrifically overpopulated? Laying state. We're absolutely committed. Hard commit, double down to reaching 1 layer per realm by phase 2. This is why we need to have upper bounds on the number of players connected to the realm at one time and queue players past that point. That, of course, is why we're willing to open new servers if necessary, and we've even started doing that in response to the incredibly positive reception we've had during the name reservation period. This is what I think needs to happen. I think if the original server pop cap was like 2,500 to 3,000, there's no way this number is going to stand. Absolutely no way. Whenever they get rid of layering. I think what is likely going to happen is this gets changed to like 5k plus. I think minimum server cap is going to be 5,000. You think original was 2,500? I know. We talked to Mark Kern and John Stats about it in an earlier Classic cast, and they mentioned that this was roughly what the population cap was. I think this is minimum. What happened to the tablet? It's over there. On the ground. It's so far away. The tablet is over there and the pen is over there. Like, it's just too far. Okay. So I think this is bare minimum what we'll see. Bare minimum. And I think they're expecting this, right? I think they're expecting this. Or really I should say this. I think they're expecting this. This is kind of what I expect for the Classic population graph. The way they're approaching it, I think is they're approaching it with this kind of thought in mind as well. You see? Where you're going to have this big spike. You're going to have Hype Beast right here. You're going to have the Hype Beast right here. And you're going to say Poggers. And then they're going to go back and play Fortnite after a while. And then you're going to have this. And then maybe eventually it's going to go back up a little bit. That's what I think is going to happen. What do you mean I write G's backwards? GG easy. Okay. So yeah, that's what I think is gonna happen there. I think absolute bare minimum is 5K caps. And more than likely 10K is what I think we're gonna see. But I think absolute bare minimum is probably 5K. Has the reception of Classic met or exceeded expectations? Are there far more people coming back for Classic than expected? Or were you guys right within the predicted ballpark? We've been blown away by the response to WoW Classic. Damn right. The passion from the community is exactly what got us working on this in the first place. And we see new signs of your passion and excitement every day. We're very excited to make it a reality for all of you next week. 6 days. In phase 1, will the raid only drop items added to Molten Core before patch 1.3? Okay, somebody messaged me about this. And like I said, I didn't look at this before, but I literally had this conversation with some of the guild members last night. And I've talked about this before, and I'll tell you a story. In phase 1, will the raid only drop items added to Molten Core before patch 1.3? In phase 2, will it only drop items added to Molten Core before 1.5, or will it have the 1.12 vanilla Molten Core loot tables from the start? So I'm gonna read this answer, and then I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. This is the big talk for today. For me, some of the fun of clearing a dungeon is discovering the loot as you go. But for those who want more information, the drop tables are mostly from 1.12. There's a significant exception to that in phase 5 when relics were added to drop tables. 1.10, I believe. When they were originally added in patch 1.10. They affected drop tables significantly enough that simply removing relics from the drop table until phase 5 wouldn't be sufficient. It would have had effects on the drop rates from other items that we didn't feel were acceptable or authentic. So for that specific change to item drops, we did reproduce the boss drop tables from the previous patch, 1.9. Before phase 5, the effective bosses will have 1.9 drop tables, and once phase 5 hits, they'll use the 1.10 drop tables. So they're talking about specifically bosses that drop relics. That change doesn't affect MC or Onyxia very heavily, so you should expect those drops to launch in a state very similar to their final phase stick state. Again, I don't want to give it all away, so I'll leave a bit up to exploration and discovery here. So, here we go, Megalone. You know what? We're going to whip out the big guns for this. Everybody pog you. We're going to whip out the big guns. Here it is. Ugh. Oh, pick up my pen. Oh, pick up my tablet. Okay. Here it is. Frick. Okay. So. Indubitably. Okay. Ha, you need gym ASAP? Don't worry, dude. I got all the workout I needed with your mom last night. Let's see. New. Okay. So. I'm gonna put this up on the other monitor for a second for reference, so I can look at it and make sure I can refresh my thoughts. Very good. So here's what they're saying. They're essentially saying in patch basically they're going with 1.12 loot trees, right? So if they go with 1.12 loot trees in Molten Core, phase 1, what does that mean? That means certain items that you're going to see, you're going to see bindings, 1.4. You're going to see Eye of Sulfurous, 1.4, right? But these are going to be in from phase 1, okay? You're going to see the 1.5 MC update. I'll give some examples of items here. Onslaught Girdle. Onslaught Girdle. Flame Guard Gauntlets. Flame Guard Gauntlets. Obsidian Edge Blade. And on top of that, you are getting the 1.12 version. So BRE, Bone Reaver's Edge, is going to be insane from the beginning of the game. For some classes, arguably best in slot, period. So there's some discussion about this as far as like warriors go in BRE. The thought is BRE is BIS for warrior, period. Some people think that. But something that a lot of people don't consider is that's when all the stacks are up. If all your stacks aren't up and you want that snap burst damage right off the bat, then a weapon like the Grand Marshal's Claymore is better, right? The rank 14 weapon. So that's something to consider, right? The BRE is very, very good. Don't get me wrong. It's insane. But if you want snap burst damage whenever your procs aren't up, then the BRE is, then the rank 14 weapon is going to be better right off the bat until the stacks are up. Or like a Might of Menethil or a, even an Ashkandi. I think that's up for debate. I think even an Ashkandi could be better. That's what some people think, right? This is just like me talking to different warriors and stuff too. Like for a Paladin, BRE is really, really good. I think Ashkandi is a little bit better, in my opinion. But a BRE is going to drop in phase 1. You're not going to see an Ashkandi until phase 6. Or sorry, phase 3. I was thinking patch 1.6. So, yeah. Do you think progressing through the actual historical patches would be more viable in TBC and Wrath? I'll think about it. What's BRE? BRE is Bone Reaver's Edge, and I'll go ahead and look it up. Sorry, I should be more... Bone Reaver's Edge. Your attacks ignore 700 of your enemy's armor for 10 seconds. This effect stacks up to 10 times. 16 stamina, 1% crit. 310 top end damage. So the thought is if you go minus 2100 armor on somebody, then you're just gonna slice right through them. Wait, did I say 10 times? I meant 10 seconds. Your attacks ignore 700 of your enemy's armor for 10 seconds. The effect stacks up to 3 times. So yeah, 2100 armor, just slice right through them. Yeah, minus 21, 21, 21, 21. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Do BRE stacks apply to the enemy or buff on the warrior? You know what? This has been a topic of debate. Because I never had a BRE in actual Classic, and BRE has been coded differently on different private servers. And BRE, this weapon changed like 4 times. Is there 3 times? Maybe like I think there was like 4 iterations of this item, so people have a hard time actually figuring it out. I have heard that at one point it was a debuff on the enemy, at another point it was a buff on the player. I think the end version of it was that it was a buff on the player. But I don't know. On Wowhead, it's a buff on the player. Okay, awesome. So yeah, there you go. If you click on the spell shadow, Curse of Sargeras, it's a buff, it's a curse. There you go. So I wonder if you can decurse this. Dispel type curse. Wait, so can a mage or a druid dispel this off of you? I don't know. I don't know. I didn't have one in vanilla. So I really don't know. Okay, let's go back to this. So yeah. So what you're saying is if you have the 1.12 loot tables in here, then you have all these items in. All these items are going to be in from patch essentially 1.2, right? That's what phase 1 is. So you're going to get bindings early. Now you can't do anything with the bindings until Blackwing Layer, because you have to be able to do the BWL stuff for you need the what's it called? Elementium. Yeah. So you're going to need to be able to do Blackwing Layer for Thunder Fury. Eye of Sulfurous, Hand of Rag, I think you could technically do in phase 1. I think you could do Eye of Sulfurous in phase 1. I believe. You need ingots? Yeah, well the ingots would have to drop, right? Now here's the thing, do the ingots drop in phase 1? Let's see. Ingots. Sulfuron ingots. Oh, hold on. It doesn't say. It doesn't say if this drops in phase 1 or not. Tier 0.5. Tier 0.5 is a phase 5 with AQ40. Yeah. Fairlina Discord is fully boosted. Nice. Guys, if you haven't joined the Fairlina Discord yet, if you have not joined the Fairlina Discord yet, you guys should go ahead and do that. Invite people. Click. Right there. The link is in chat. That is our Fairlina Discord. Our server Discord. There is nearly 7,000 people in this Discord right now. Look at that. Look at that number. Discord.gg/Fairlina PvP. There you go. It's got a dedicated URL now. Look at that. Discord.gg/Fairlina PvP to go along with the subreddit. Very good. Look at that. Are we going to get to 7K? I'm still confused about loot tables. Or 1.5 items. We'll see. See, that's the thing. So let's go back to it. So the 1.5 items, like Onslaught Girdle, Flame Rider, and Obsidian Edge Blade, these are just some examples, right? There's a bunch of stuff. This is what my thought process was before, was that this wasn't going to get added until phase 3, right? If this stuff was going to get added in phase 3, because the phases are essentially 2 patches. So if the phases are 2 patches, then what does that mean? That means P1, 1.2, P2, 1.4, P3, 1.6, P4, 1.8, P5, 1.10, P6, 1.12. So key things happen in each of these pairs of patches. And what happens is right here, you have the MC loot update. Right here, you have BWL. But because the MC loot update is paired into this, the MC loot update happens at the same time as BWL. Meaning you go through all of phase 1 and all of phase 2 without any updates to loot outside of the legendaries that start to drop in 1.4. The ingot was in patch 1.2. Okay, perfect. So you get ingots in patch 1.2. So it's a non-issue. So here's my thing. If they go with items being released at the proper times, which I probably think they should, which I think they probably should, there's pros and cons to this. Pro. Let's start with the con. Con. Because the MC loot update doesn't happen until the same time as BWL, there is a massive amount of gear that's added into the ecosystem in one patch, right? So what happens in phase 1 and phase 2 is that you have very little raid progression for people that are raiding kind of on the front end. And also, even on the back end, right? Because you might be doing MC and, hey, people say it's not likely. They're probably right, but you never know. There's going to be guilds that are going to hit, they're going to hit Gar, where they're going to hit certain bosses, and they're going to be like, question mark, why are we wiping? Bindings in phase 2 or 3. Bindings would technically drop in phase 2. But, so basically you're getting a ton of power in one phase, and the MC loot update, which is there and would help you complete content in BWL that would drop in patch 1.5 in between phase 2 and phase 3, is not actually going to be there and working towards that. It just gets dumped in with BWL. That's the con. The pro, we've talked about why raids are going to be easier in Classic. We have not talked about how raids could be harder. And this is one of those reasons. If the better gear is not in until BWL, then you aren't going to be able to go into BWL with the Onslaught Girdles and the Flame Guard Gauntlets, and I think Quick Strike Ring was put in that patch. Is it going to matter? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to matter, but it is technically going to increase the difficulty if the gear is not in until phase 3, but I think it is more boring. I think it is more fun and more exciting if the MC loot update is pulled back and put into phase 2. And that way it's in prior to BWL release. Because that way you're getting progression throughout the course of these 2 patches of MC. Now, this is also the way that it was supposed to be, is that this update is supposed to happen before BWL. Do you think the team is internally discussing all this stuff that you talk about, but it's very difficult to pull off? Yeah, I do think they're internally discussing a lot of this stuff. I think that a lot of the stuff that we talk about on... I mean, I'll just tell you, I know because I've been told that they watch a lot of the stuff that we do on stream and have these discussions that we have. I know for a fact that they watch them, right? So yeah, I'm And I'm sure this is something that I'm talking about now. This is probably something they started talking about like 2 months ago. Not 2 months ago. I said that like, I mean, they probably started talking about this a long time ago, you know? So that's kind of my concern. Now, what this post leads me to believe, where'd it go? What this post or what this answer leads me to believe is that they're considering saying, hey, I'm going deep. Everything is going, all this, legendaries, MC loot update, everything. We're just going to dump it into phase 1. We're just going to dump it into phase 1. This is what that would mean. Okay, this is what that would mean. You've got your legendaries. 1.5 gear in phase 1. So I kind of look at this. It's not just that this gear is available and you're going to get this gear for sure, right? And I thought about this a little bit later. So whenever you're doing like a probability equation in math, when you're doing a probability equation in math, you look at the chance that something happens, right? You look at a chance that something happens, but what else do you look at? You look at the chance that something doesn't happen. Do you see what I'm saying? Meaning, oh, well, now I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. Well, you know what? There's also a chance that you don't get the items that would drop without this. So effectively, you're actually reducing the drop chance of other pieces of gear that are in MC prior to these items being added in. Wait, they actually talk about this in the next comment? Well, frick. Well, let's keep reading. Let's keep reading before we come back to this. Let's keep reading. Okay. Too many windows, man. The next comment is about layering. Please clarify whether this means drop percent or actual item drops. Changing Mage Blade drop percentage when more items get added to the table isn't that big of a deal. Changing whether bindings drop in phase 1 is entirely different. They're related. Imagine a drop table that has 2 items that each... Okay, this is exactly where I was going with this. Imagine a drop table that has 2 items that each have a 50% chance to drop. If you restrict it so one of those can't drop, the other one just became a 100% chance to drop, or you have to have 50% chance to drop nothing. There are various items throughout the game that were added later, and which we've restricted to later phases, but we took a careful look at any item we decided to restrict to make sure it didn't affect the drop rates of other items too much. If it did, we went back and pulled an earlier version of the drop table so it would have an appropriate loot distribution, and the biggest of these changes was in phase 5 from the 1.10 patch. Yeah, absolutely, because they added a bunch of extra dungeon loot in 1.10 and all that. And that said, none of those drop table changes occur between phase 1 and 2. They're all in later phases. So yes, bindings can drop in phase 1. Good luck getting both of them. I'm still missing one. Wait. Hold on. So are they saying that bindings were meant to be able to drop an MC from the beginning? But nobody ever got one until 1.4? That is so crazy. Because if you look at this, classic.wowhead.com, bindings of the Windseeker, right? Is that what they're called? Yeah, they are. So if you look at bindings of the Windseeker, comments, filter by patch, 1.4 is the first patch notes, the first time anybody ever comments about these. Comments. 1.4. Oldest first. Supposedly drops from Gar. Supposedly. So as it seems, these were always intended to drop from the very beginning of the game. If you look at the actual data, it's just that nobody ever got them. So maybe what they're trying to say is that, how old is Wowhead? 1.11 or 1.12, but they own Alakazam and Thoughtbot, and all the Alakazam and Thoughtbot comments are on there. Yeah, that was an Alakazam comment. So what they're saying is essentially that the item drop chance is so low that you just happen to never see it until then. When was the first rag kill? That's something else to consider too. The first rag kill, I always forget. It's like 160 days. 154 days. Right. Meaning, vanilla WoW patch time. 154 days, divided by 30. 5 months. Patch 1.4. April 4. Yeah. 4, 5. December 5. So it only makes sense that you never saw an Eye of Sulfuras until patch 1.4 because nobody killed Rag until patch 1.4. Right? I didn't need a calculator. I was showing my work, JJ. Not everybody in chat's as smart as you are, dude. Unfortunately. Let's see. I am Smile. So, yeah. I guess that's what they're saying. So, I guess the legendaries actually were always intended to drop from the beginning. But it wasn't until patch 1.4 where he was killed. Would it kill Blizzard to release Classic early? No, but it might kill me. Let's see. I lost. Q&A. Okay. So here's what I was talking about. Kind of back to my original point. So as it seems, these were always intended to drop from the beginning of the game. So really now you're only talking about 1.5 gear in phase 1. Now, Wowhead has data mined a lot of this stuff. We're going to pull Wowhead back up here. Classic.wowhead.com. Onslaught Girdle is slated as dropping in phase 1. So they've data mined a lot of stuff. As it seems, everything looks like it's going to drop from the beginning. What's up, Tugatorps? It's an OP belt. That's a Rep Prio belt is what it is. What's up, Team Pepito? Sorry, I don't know why that made me laugh. Yeah. What's the thing about Classic you're the most excited about? For me personally, like I can't wait to just like guild lead and do that kind of stuff again. Yeah. Why doesn't anyone advocate Enhancer Shaman like you do Rep Paladins? Because the Horde are savages and they don't care about people and they have no human values because they're all orcs. Okay. Enhanced is also way worse than ret. I think enhanced probably is not quite as good as ret, but they're both not that great. Okay, so let's take a vote here. I'm actually very curious how you guys feel. Straw poll. Let's make a little bit of a straw poll here. When should they add patch 1.5 MC items? Phase 2 before BWL drops. Phase 3 packaged in with BWL keeping with current 2 patch phase system, or phase 1 just release it all at the beginning. Again, something to consider. Now, some of the items are really, really good, like an Onslaught Girdle. You can possibly get that from the beginning. But that does effectively reduce the chance to get other items as well. Just because the items are in from the very beginning doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get everything, because there's still only going to be a finite number of lockouts before a BWL patch hits. I'm just curious. I'm going to allow multiple poll answers. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Actually, hold on. Let's go back. Let's do this one more time. Current plan. Okay, because I think there's some people that just might not care either way. And I'll be honest with you, I think there's some more pressing matters about raids than this in general. I'm just curious to see. Wait, why allow multiple? Because you might... Oh yeah, this isn't something that you would probably want multiple for. You're actually right. I almost always do multiple, but you're right. This is a case where it probably doesn't need to be multiple. Okay. Okay, here's the link. I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Add 1.5. Well, there's no 1.5, right? It's phases. You lied? Why would you lie? Unbelievable. Esfand, I'm always seriously surprised at how good of a streamer and stream personality you are. Keep up your good work. Dude, thanks, man. Thanks, Dado. Add phase 6. Yeah, so there's the poll. So, it seems like a lot of you guys don't really care. I mean, this is what I thought was going to happen, right? This is what I thought the original plan was, and I'm personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I think that this would have been a bad idea. I think this is probably the best, and I think this is probably not the end of the world, because of what I was saying earlier about how whenever you add these items in, it also reduces your chances to get the other items, which is something I hadn't thought about until more recently. So whenever we got a chance to go to Blizzard a week before the Classic Beta, I actually had this conversation with Ian Hazakostas about specifically the patch 1.5 MC items, and that's what I mentioned. I said that basically I think these items should probably be put in before the BWL drop, but not with BWL if they go with one phase as 2 patches. That was my personal opinion. Is probably phase 2, but it looks like phase 1 is what they're going with, which I think both of these are better than this. And I think this is probably true Lil W as well. Maybe it's not as big of a deal as I'm even making it out to be. More than anything, it's just something to talk about and something to consider, I guess. There's the poll again one more time if you guys want to vote. Okay. Just curious. Okay. So let's move on. My understanding is that layering is mainly a tool to alleviate the playing experience in overcrowded zones, not to fill up servers infinitely to avoid queues. Could you reiterate and clarify this and your current intentions and plans with layering, server cast, and handling population at launch, and in the future, now that you've had the chance to study and tweak it during the stress test? I'm so glad you asked this question. Okay. We've seen some confusion about layering. Both about how it helps support our launch and how it's supposed to behave while it's active. So I'd like to speak to it and clear up some misconceptions about it. But first, let me shout out some subs and resubs because I haven't done that in a second. Well, I haven't shouted up subs and resubs in a minute. Symptoms, thank you for the 15 months. Twitch Prime. Grumpy Monk with the $1. I'm going to blow your mind. It's pronounced Harad. Noah Lafers, 15 months. Holy crap, 15 months. My birthday is Saturday. My man. What better way for this boomer to celebrate than with a classic release? You know what? My birthday is going to be when I get back from Las Vegas for the classic launch event. My birthday is going to be back from that. Back whenever I get that. So we're going to do a birthday stream, maybe a birthday P.O. Box stream if people want to send stuff to my P.O. Box. We might do a P.O. Box stream tonight after this even. Ethanthra, thank you for the 7-month smile. Cowboy Smuff, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Germs, thank you for the Prime 5 months. JJ Black here, 200 bits. Aren't the guild pops for all streamers basically 3 to 5K alone combined? It's going to be like 1,000. Oh, combined. Probably. But not all those people are going to be online at the same time. And a lot of those people are probably going to quit. Next Elevation. Twitch Prime 17 months. PGM. Thank you for the Tier 1 14 months. Dodsworth 300 bits. 5 days, 21 hours, 7 minutes, 19 seconds. Nice. Killathop with a Tier 1 sub. Dog the Bounty Hunter. No, wait, the Booty Hunter? What the frick? Thanks for the Twitch Prime. Pushkin, thank you for the Tier 1. Zirkin, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Dat Mods, 200 bits. The Harami Salami, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Teluthra, 500 bits. Esfand prying open his third eye. Wait, what? Sharkbait the Great, Twitch Prime. Awestruck Vox, Twitch Prime. The Butler, 14-month system default, Tier 1. Hotilla, thank you for the Twitch Prime. The Pug Tamer, Tier 1, 4 months. Ever seen a pug on Red Bull? I'm hoping to, once he stops sprinting around. I'm hoping to, once he stops sprinting around at light speed. Oh, at light speed. Oh, okay, good. Shim Diddley Bobwa, thank you for the Twitch Prime.
Yeah, that is true.
Deatheran, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Army Pat, Tier 1, thank you. Lucian77, thank you for the 13 months. Hi, I'm Brian. Hi, Brian. Pointy Boot, thank you for the 2 months.
Esfand's the #1 rap paladin.
Zeros,
yeah,
thank you for the Twitch Prime.
That is true.
Chef Lou 5, thank you for the Twitch Prime. And Swiggy Swoo, thank you for the Tier 1 6 months. Thank you, guys. Beep, beep, I'm a Jeep. Thank you for the 2 months. Okay. First, we're absolutely committed to reducing to 1 layer per realm before our second content phase goes live. The sooner we can get there, the better. The reason we can't do that initially is that on launch day, everyone will be clustered in the starting zones. And having players so close together causes an exponential drain on server resources. In fact, the same number of players cause more server problems crammed into Northshire than they do spread across all of L1 Forest. We expect that even after the first couple of days, we'll need fewer layers than we need for the initial hours of launch, and our stress tests have confirmed that expectation. You know what this means? This means that layering doesn't work quite like we were under the impression of, thinking that 1 layer is about the size of a server cap. The original vanilla server cap. But anyway, continue. We expect that even after the first couple of days, we'll need fewer layers than we need to after the initial hours of launch. Our stress tests confirm that expectation. Dude, speaking of which, think about how much progression there was from the first stress test all the way to the last stress test. The first stress test, like, most people couldn't even log in, and then they got to the point where there was like a little bit of lag at the beginning, but they like boom, 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 fixed everything to where they were able to get more people on by the end of it. The last stress test was honestly very clean. It makes me feel pretty confident about launch. A related concern that was raised during our pre-launch test was the capital cities felt empty. But that only occurred because we left the pre-launch test running 2 days past its original end date, and we didn't reduce the number of layers at all during that test. During our launch week, as the players spread out across the world, we'll monitor activity and reduce layers as necessary, so the world continues to feel full. Good. Some players have suggested using sharding and low-level zones to address launch demand, both because we talked about that at BlizzCon, because it's what they're used to from our modern expansions. Unfortunately, while modern WoW has content designed to work with sharding, WoW Classic does not. The most obvious examples of incompatible content is Rexar's famously long patrol path, but there are lots of other examples throughout WoW Classic. Since we want all that content to work as it was originally designed, we've made sure that every layer is a copy of the entire world, so you can kite Anachronos all the way to Orgrimmar, and you can ride the boat from Ratchet to Booty Bay with the same people alongside you the whole way. Some players have asked us to use realm caps and login queues to handle the demand, and while those are tools we have at our disposal, we don't want to rely on them exclusively because they keep people from playing the game. Gatekeeping, Pog. One of the most frequently reported problems during our test was players transferring to a layer for what seemed like no reason. There were several bugs that caused this, and we're confident that we fixed them. At this point, the only thing that should cause you to change layers is accepting an invite from a player on another layer. Additionally, it should always transfer the player who was invited to the layer of the player who invited them. Who was invited to the layer of the player who invited them. Okay, yeah. Nonetheless, invite to Aspen layer. Nonetheless, after accepting an invite, the layer transfer doesn't always happen immediately, and because we don't want to transfer you in the middle of combat or before you get a chance to loot, during our pre-launch test, we saw a few reports of what seemed like a random layer transfer, but when we investigated, we realized this was due to us making the transfer delay too long. Oh, kind of like this answer. I'm just kidding. The delay was so long that the players could unintentionally chain one delay into another by starting combat immediately after looting. Because of those reports, we fixed the transfer delay to give you enough time to loot without being so long that you're left wondering why you can't join your friend. We'll keep an eye on that, and we may decide to reduce it further. We've also seen reports of people transferring suddenly at the entrances to capital cities, which was related to the transfer delays. If you're waiting to transfer to your friend's lair and you enter capital city, we ignore the delay and transfer you immediately. The long delays were making it more likely that you'd enter a capital with a transfer pending, and now that we've reduced the transfer delay, it will be a bit more clear that your transfer was the result of accepting a group invitation. Regarding PvP, we saw many posts from players wondering if getting invited to a party is a good way to escape from PvP combat. I'm pleased to say that there's actually a separate, longer transfer delay following any PvP combat. We know a lot of world PvP enthusiasts are excited for WoW Classic, and we don't want the additional layers to feel like they're robbing you of your kills. When the time comes to withdraw from the fight, you'll have to escape from your enemies and get to a safe place before you'll be able to join your friends on another layer. I'd also like to clarify how multiple layers work with logout. Early in our stress testing, players reported that logging out and back in would let you hop to a new layer to farm the same mineral or an herb node on different layers. That was a bug, and we fixed it. Your layer assignment now persists for a few minutes between logouts, long enough that by the time the game would choose a new layer for you, that node would have respawned on its own anyway. I hope that makes all things a bit more clear. That was pretty good. No, actually, good answer. What was that? Huh. No funks given. Thank you for the tier 1 subjugation, tier 1 8 months. That one bro guy, tier 1 11 months. Gooberry gumdrops. Thank you for the Twitch Prime, dude. What is that Esfand is drinking? Well, let me tell you, my friend, this is a classy Red Bull. Indubitably. On August 12th, the classic transfers in place were buckled nearly to the breaking point under the weight of character creations alone. Many players showed up early, only to be randomly lagged out and disconnected, held back sometimes 30 minutes or more, and potentially missing the chance for their reserved names. What steps are being taken to ensure that at launch, the same thing doesn't happen on an even grander scale during the initial rush, i.e. showing up early, only to be arbitrarily disconnected and thrown to the back of the queue? Are there measures in place to avoid punishing those that get randomly disconnected through no fault of their own, i.e. if I wait in a 2-hour queue and finally get in, only to get disconnected 5 minutes later, do I have to wait in the 2-hour queue again? We're planning a number of fixes to improve that experience. First, we've already begun opening new realms and we encourage people to switch to them. We've also increased the size of the realm queues so they can hold more people before disconnecting them, and we've improved the error message you get so that you'll know you're being disconnected because the queue is full instead of getting a generic disconnect message. This is far and away one of the most frustrating, annoying, obnoxious things that could possibly happen to you. You're in queue, you're sitting at home, 987 in queue. You're working your way down. Oh, awesome, 3 minutes. There's only 87 people left, right? There's 3 minutes. What happens? Aunt Sally ends up calling mom and she disconnects your dial-up because she called the home phone. And I'm like, dude, Aunt Sally, like, come on. Like, we have AOL. Like, are you freaking kidding me? So it ends up being a big issue, right? I don't know how many of you guys are still using AOL, Blue Light, Net Zero, or any other really, really high quality internet service. But, for them to be able to find a way to fix that in case you disconnect while you're in queue, it's a good idea. My question is on guard spawns in cities and towns. My impression of it is that on the latest stress test, after I had some time to test, it seems to work like it does on retail. Did guard spawns really work the same way back in vanilla as they do now in retail? I'm honestly not sure we've looked at that specific case. Thanks for the detailed description. We'll take a look and we'll make sure we get it right. Isn't this something that was fixed? Like, I think, was this something? I thought this was fixed before the stress test. Cause wasn't it like in the beginning of the beta, the guards were spawning like crazy? The detailed description cap, yeah. Detailed description cap right here. The dude's actual question was like 3 paragraphs of examples. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, let's take a look at that. Well, we took a look at it. Okay, next question. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Examples I found. If a player walks too close to a city or town that has a spawn point for guards, they will spawn 1 guard per player. If a player pet minion attacks an NPC close to a spawn point, a guard will spawn, even if said player pet minion is far enough away to trigger it by range. If in scenario 2, a player attacks an NPC that has a spawn point close by and spawns a guard, you have a friendly player nearby or more, guard will spawn for each player. Even if player 2 or anyone else did no damage or got too close, so it would take the attacking player and include everyone close to said player and spawn a guard for each one. Huh. Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, at least they have some examples so they can look at it and get it right if it's wrong. You're releasing the catch-up gear released in 1.10 at the same time as the original pre-DM loot tables. So MC and BW will be an even bigger cakewalk with catch-up gear meant for AQ Nax. I think they said they're not putting this in until phase Until phase 5. Yeah. Catch-up gear added in 1.10 won't be available until phase 5. The MC tables weren't affected very much by the 1.10 changes. Almost all their loot was the same from 1.5 to 1.12. True. So the changes you see to MC throughout our content unlocks will be very minor. Okay. So this goes along with everything that we talked about earlier. Please clarify whether this means drop percentage or actual item drop tables. Changing Mage Blade drop percent when more items get added to the table isn't that big of a deal. Changing whether bindings drop in phase 1 is entirely different. Oh, we already looked at that question. Yeah, and they're basically saying none of these drop tables just occur between phase 1 and 2. So, again, what they were saying is that, hey, guess what? Bindings actually could drop, but nobody ever saw it before 1.4 patch. Because, I mean, the bindings just didn't drop, right? But I have Sulfurous didn't drop because nobody killed Rag before 1.4. If my intentions are to group up and fight back against the opposing alliance, all I need to do is be the party leader and invite my friends, not accept invites from them. Yes, that's correct. The person who issues the invite will bring the invited players to their lair. Inviting your higher level friends to come help you fight back is certainly something people used to do, and we encourage you to do so. Enjoy the fight. Smile. Does this pertain only to raid bosses or to 5 and 10 man dungeon bosses as well? I think people were expecting item gating where blue quality catch-up gear for 110 wouldn't exist in dungeon until phase 5. To avoid warping raid difficulty and protect the importance of epic drops in early raiding. Can you clarify this a bit more? Yeah, people keep asking about this. I don't think this was ever a question. I think everybody, I think it was kind of stated from pretty early on. I think it was stated a while back that that they were going to have the 1.10 gear in phase 5. This does not apply to 5-man. This does apply to 5-man dungeons as well. We gated specific item drops when it made sense to do so, and if those removals affected the drop rates of other items in a significant way, we used the rest of the drop rates from the previous patch to compensate. In fact, most of the changes in phase 5 will be changes made to 5-man dungeon tables. For the Gates of AQ event, are you guys keeping the resources and amounts the same for turn-ins? Or can we expect you to have a few tricks up your sleeve to prevent stockpiling prior? Personally, I'd prefer the latter since it seems more in the spirit of the event. Hashtag no changes. In all seriousness, one of our core pillars is to recreate the original vending experience, recreate the original experiences as authentically as possible. This will extend to the required resources of the AQ War event. So this means the same things that you need for AQ 40 that everybody has known for years, those are going to be the same things that you're going to need to open the gates. We realize there's nothing we can do to unwind the knowledge gained over the years. What we do have control over is ensuring that World of Warcraft Classic matches as closely as possible to the original 1.12 data. Will servers be brought down at some point before release, or will players be able to sit at character select waiting for Enter World to activate? We're likely to perform some kind of realm restarts or maintenance between now and launch. However, in the minutes leading up to launch, our plan is that the realms will be up, available, and the Enter World button will instantly light up once we're launched. Boom, just like that. What are your plans for server resets days for Classic? Will it align with retail reset days? Tuesday NA, Wednesday EU. Have you thought of having a separate day for Classic reset to offset a little? The raid reset points have been restored to the original 1.12 values. Classic operates as part of our general World of Warcraft infrastructure. Our goals are to minimize service downtime and maximize availability. In some weeks, we might not need to take realms down for maintenance. Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember? Tell me, what was the worst day of the week to get sick on? You're in high school. You get sick on a Tuesday. And it's like, no, mom, please, mom, let me go to school. Because you do not want to waste that sick day. You absolutely do not want to waste that sick day. Because what ends up happening is you end up being sick on that day, and then you're sick on another day. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know about you guys, this was my reputation. Everybody thought when I was sick, everybody thought I was skipping school to play WoW. Regardless of whether or not I wasn't. I never did. I never did that, okay? I never skipped school to play WoW. But everybody thought I was, okay? So, if I was going to be sick, I might as well be playing WoW, right? Right? And that's not why I got sick. That's not why I got sick. I just happened to be at home, resting, a little bit of chicken noodle soup, a little bit of dragon breath chili, a little bit of farming some fell cloth. Look, it's not, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? It's not skipping, okay? You don't skip. You don't skip. Unless there's a new patch out. Anyway, when creating Classic, was there anything specific your team thought was going to be incredibly hard to accomplish that turned out to be a lot easier than expected, or vice versa? One of the biggest benefits of having worked on World of Warcraft continuously since the beginning is that I have a strong grasp. Oh, big strong hands. Not only of how our game and server systems worked originally, but how they changed over time. So I can't say there was anything incredibly hard. Okay. Okay, who's Mr. Smarty Pants? Okay, this guy's smarter than everybody. Oh, hey, look at me, dude. Nothing is hard. Everything is easy for me. You know what this guy is? This is not. This is the guy. This is the guy on the dev team. Who's Twitch chat? He just thinks he's smarter than everybody. This was Omar. Unbelievable, Omar. Unfreaking believable. Oh, it was so easy. I got that reference client up and running. Man, it's just a walk in the park, dude. Just a walk in the park. Look at me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Omar. Unbelievable. Okay. King of the castle, king of the castle. No, yeah, Omar saved us. What? The process mainly involved the constant iteration, comparing Classic to our 1.12 reference, and making fixes and adjustments when we found differences. On a side note, I did find old bits of code that I wrote as a young engineer. I fought hard to resist the urge to clean and refactor it in places it was not technically needed. Because at this point, it's been production hardened for 10 years. 10 plus years, excuse me. So yeah, no, so here's the thing. I think in regards to this question, I think it's a huge deal that the two guys you have heading up the Classic project are Omar and Brian Birmingham, because these two guys, they actually worked on Classic. And I think having people that actually worked on retail vanilla WoW, working on WoW Classic, is huge. I think it's important. Like, obviously not everybody remembers everything. Like, you know, we've had Mark Kern on the show. We've had John Stats on the show. And there were times where, like, honestly, I can't remember like the little nitty gritty that you guys are talking about sometimes, because they've been away from the game. The game has changed and they've been out of Blizzard for a while and all this stuff. But I think in having somebody there who was originally working on the game, I think is a huge boost. And I think it's really, really good. And Kevin Jordan as well. Absolutely. But you know what? I'm going to toot Kevin Jordan's horn a little bit. Kevin Jordan seemed to remember more as far as he seemed to be a little bit more like he seemed to remember, like whenever we would ask him questions, he seemed to pick up on it a little bit easier. Like as far as like, oh yeah, like there was less like kind of like, you know what, I don't quite remember. So props to Kevin Jordan, because I think that's incredibly impressive. When you went through some of the old code, did you find any work that really stood out and you couldn't believe they achieved what they did back in 2006? I found old code that stood out because I wrote it in 2005. What I'm most impressed by is the long latitude and longitude of our code base. Sorry. Man, I don't even have kids and I'm making dad jokes. We don't toss out old systems just to rebuild again from scratch. We mostly take an evolutionary approach, which is to say we improve and extend systems as far as they can. When code systems do reach an overextended point, that's when we try and refactor out common components to pay down tech debt. On the engineering side, the technical decisions we make should be done in service of delivering great gaming experiences. So it looks like they didn't talk. So what they're saying is, so this is good because this probably made it easier than it needed to be. Now there was a WoW dev water cooler one. So whenever they didn't say anything forever, and then they talked about this, how the spell tables had changed. Like these were the original spell tables, and then in retail they've changed it to be like this, where it's like this points to this, points to that, as opposed to just all the data of a spell being in there at once in a table. So it's not like everything was tossed out from scratch; it just basically evolved. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm a game developer as well. One of my favorite things to do is to go through old code and find some interesting comments. Just wondering if there were any comments in the code that stuck out to you as funny or interesting. Return false. Comment, arg, foiled. Nice. Hello, what are some of the perks you guys had on using Legion game engine for Classic? We have a vastly improved telemetry. It can read minds. And error reporting tools now than we had in 2006. As someone who fielded 3 a.m. calls, I consider this a huge perk. An engineering-only perk is we use modern compilers and debuggers, which is a huge boost of productivity, scalability, security, and robustness. Nice. On the client front, our engine is much more efficient at rendering images and more stable and free of crashes in general. Very good. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is I think the original 1.12 vanilla client is way laggier than the classic client is. So in some ways, some of that, what should we call that? Artificial difficulty isn't quite there anymore. Some of that artificial difficulty isn't there like it used to be. I use the Viscidus fight as an example because I think anybody who's done Viscidus maybe on a private server or even in retail vanilla probably has tried, or maybe they haven't, but you know they might have tried the Sapper strat, where basically everybody in the raid has engineering, ice, shatter, blah 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 blah. All the blobs are everywhere, and then they all come together. Okay, so you hit Viscidus with your frost damage until he turns into a block of ice, and then you beat him until he shatters into a bunch of blobs of ooze, and then the ooze comes together from all the corners of the room. Everybody in the raid comes to a center point. Okay, once they come to a center point, all the blobs come from every which way, and then once they get really, really close, right before he reforms, everybody sapper charge. Boom, 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 and then you take him down 1% and kill him easy. You have donations turned off? No, I just muted them for a second, and I'm going through and I'm reading them every few minutes. And yeah, I'll do that now actually. So yeah, I think some of that artificial difficulty is going to be gone, because even if you run the 1.12 client on your current computer now, it doesn't utilize like all the juice. You know what I mean? It doesn't utilize everything your computer has to offer, so it lags a little bit. Let's take a look at donations. Crash and X, thank you for the Twitch Prime. The Big Zang, Twitch Prime, 3 months. Okay, man, thank you for the 2 months. Spartan, thank you for the 2 months. Scrubfeller, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Thank you for the Twitch Prime, howdy. Baker, thank you for the Tier 1 3 months. Love you. Hey, I love you guys. Johnny, I can't believe I made it into your guild. Unfortunately, I'm going with my gut and playing Shaman. What? Ban that guy. Unbelievable. Thin Thick, thank you for the Twitch Prime. The Groxton, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Craig, thank you for the Twitch Prime. And Jucanan, thank you for the 7 months. Shower stream for Classic launch when you get stuck in queue. Look, there's no shower stream. Thank you for the $3, Johnny. I appreciate that, man. One of my core memories from Classic was Halloween holiday event. I know it got introduced in the 1.8 patch and its model was a bit different from current. Like, for example, for EG, Trick or Treat was given by an innkeeper with a 1-hour CD. As this and other holiday events are quite soon from now, like 1 to 2 months, can we expect these being live with old functionalities? Trick or Treat, yes, because we're based on patch 1.12's data. Holidays will play out as they did as they did during that patch. So we look forward to spooky treats and happy haunts this October. Well, gee willikers, that sounds fantabulous. Mostly for software engineers. Looking back at legacy code can be daunting. Did any of you run into code you wrote all those years ago? Some of these questions have kind of been touched on some of the other things. I absolutely did. The best part about it was being able to measure personal growth as an engineer by comparing how I might solve problems now to how I solved them in the past. Okay, you know what? This answer, this is so, it's such a good parallel to like us as players too. The best part about being able to measure personal growth as an engineer is by comparing how I might solve problems now to how I solved them in the past. So as a player, think about like if you played vanilla WoW back in the day and you're like, you know what? I was young. I was a kid. I was a teenager. It was my first MMO. Maybe I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't even raid. And then maybe you went back and played it on a private server. Maybe you're about to go back and play it again in WoW Classic. This is one of the things that I think everybody kind of comes to, like the realization that like, holy crap, dude, I knew nothing about this game compared to what I've learned recently. I knew nothing about this game compared to what I'm about to learn. But I'm not an engineer. I didn't say an engineer. Frick, dude, unbelievable. Personal growth as a player. I specifically said that. Unbelievable, guys. I think that's cool, right? I think whether you're somebody making the game or somebody playing the game, I think a lot of people are going to see a lot of differences, you know? But you're not an engineer? Of course I'm not an engineer. I'm an analyst. That's why I can't go to Yemen. Unsure how this worked back in the day. You would only get locked to an Onyxia ID if you were inside the Oh, this is a good question. Because this is something that players exploit on private servers, and I'm almost positive it doesn't work this way. But continue. You would only get locked to an Onyxia ID if you were inside the instance when she died. This meant 30 people could hearth out when she was at 5% HP or 0.5% HP, and the loot would only have to be split between the remaining 10 people. This trick allowed you to clear Onyxia multiple times per reset. This was apparently possible back in the day, and will this mechanic be present in Classic? Will it be considered an exploit if it is? This is not possible in Classic. All players who were in the instance when Onyxia is engaged will be locked. There you go. Problem solved. Will we see DirectX 12 in Classic and the multi-threaded utilization enhancements at some point? If not, is there a technical limitation? We are not planning to bring DirectX 12 and the multi-threaded enhancements to the Classic client. The multi-threaded support greatly improves performance in large-scale environments like Suramar or Borealis. Classic's world and models are much simpler. It would also increase the system requirements. There you go. That's why we got Windows XP, no changes. Spell batching seems to be causing problems with AoE abilities, such as people being able to run over hunter traps that are not going off, or running through Mage's Blizzard spell and not getting hit or slowed by it, and many more AoE abilities. This is kind of how it was. Are there any thoughts about lowering the spell bashing delay or another way to fix these issues? This is actually not related to spell bashing. Traps and AoE abilities check for the presence of targets during a heartbeat update. If the target moves through them between 2 heartbeat updates, they will not notice the target. This is how it was in original 1.12. So, a heartbeat update, it's talking about the ticks, right? So you have the same thing with consecration. I always remember this in vanilla too. I could drop a consecrate, and if it was timed properly, a rogue could just stealth run into my consecrate and cheap shot me. Thanks for the classic beta key. Never got a chance to thank you. I did not give you a beta key, Rump Dizzle. Unbelievable. Let's take a look at subs and donations real quick. Nipsternator, thank you for the 2 months. Your friend Zone. Your friend Zane. Sorry, I was thinking about my high school years. Your friend Zane, Twitch Prime 4 months. Jiggles, Twitch Prime. Feel Good Inc. 11 months. Are you skipping PAX West? I am. I will not be going to PAX West this year. Suzincho, 7 months. Esfand okay. Curtis 77, thank you for the Twitch Prime. Skepticality, thank you for the Twitch Prime as well. How does that work with the honor calculations? They were always done in downtime. When restoring the honor calculation code, we rewrote it so it can work while the game is live. Realms do not need downtime for honor to update. Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. That's cool to know, actually. The only thing I want to know is, can we still pull Lord Kazakh into Stormwind? Okay, yeah. Kazakh has a hard leash in 1.12, but there are other bosses in the world that do not. So there's the concept of a hard leash and a soft leash, okay? So just to explain, and I don't know exactly what the line is, but a soft leash is like, for example, if you look back on the beta. Oh, what the heck is it unplugged? Oh no! My tablet. So this is a really good example of a soft leash. If it was a harder leash, it probably would not have broken. It's still usable? I don't know. Okay. The lights are turning on. What? Saved. Amazing. Look at that, dude. Actually saved. Okay, so how a hard leash and a soft leash works. So let's say this is the bad guy, okay? This is the bad guy. Okay, look how angry he is. He's rage. So this is the bad guy. A soft leash is, you got Mr. Hunter over here. Let's draw a Hunter real quick. So this is what a Hunter looks like. So Hunter kind of looks something like this. Yeah, so Hunter looks kind of something like this. Right? So the Hunter is going to shoot this guy, and then a soft leash means that a range at which he will chase gets updated every time he gets attacked. A hard leash, from my understanding, it is a hard and fast rule that if Mr. Angry Man, the boss, hits this point, it's like, nope, and he will go back to where he got pulled from. No, the post from earlier didn't say Kazakh. I think it said Taramis. I think was the example he used. Like, Taramis is Taramis the Devourer. That is a guy who has a soft leash but no hard leash. Actual 10 out of 10 explanation. Thank you, Esfand. Of course. I think the picture of the Hunter helped a lot. So let's see. There's a debuff priority system in vanilla, and will there be a debuff priority system? Okay, we're almost done. I really got to go to the bathroom. There's a debuff priority system in place to ensure important debuffs stay on targets and aren't overwritten by things like deep wounds. 2, in the beta, Arcane Missile stops channeling when players flee out of range of the initial spell cast. Many people I've talked to and I recall it worked differently in vanilla. We remember that after the initial cast, it would have infinite range and keep channeling and dealing damage to the target. Is this accurate and in need of fixing in Classic, or are we incorrect? There is a debuff priority system in vanilla, and we replicated it. The issue with range on arcane missiles was fixed by 1.12, and we've kept that fix. I remember this as well. I remember the range thing, but I also remember both. But what I definitely remember was not fixed. Or you know what I don't remember? Or maybe this was fixed and I'm misremembering too. But wasn't it that if you went out of line of sight, arcane missiles kept hitting you? Like, and I don't think that was ever fixed. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But like, I remember that like, you have Mr. Mage here, right? He's got a little hat. Little wizard hat. Looks like Abe Lincoln. Okay, that's the wizard. So he shoot. Arcane missiles. And you have a wall here. If you're here and then you go bloop, it still hits you until the end of the channel. So if a guy's running out of line of sight of you, then strategy, try and use arcane missiles if you want and he's like really low health and you want to finish him off. Speak of finish him off, what the heck? Timing. Okay. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it still works that way, but I don't know. Was there the hardest thing? What was the hardest thing to recreate? Were there any things, drop rates, life points of bosses, certain mechanics, which you had to make new or had no old data about? Hunters. Trust me, Blizzard, I want to be very honest with you and say this as well. I too have had the most trouble with hunters. Yeah, working with hunters is a huge problem for me as well. They were one of the most complicated classes in vanilla, and we had to do a huge amount of work in restoring them. Yeah. Okay. My question is about phases, specifically if they will be rolled out universally. I know you have said before that you'll be watching leveling and progression on the classic realms. However, some realms may burn through content faster than others. Will phases be universal or uniquely timed for each realm? Phases will be simultaneous across all realms in a region. Yeah. So, okay, so that means the patches are going to be, it's going to be global patches. The patch updates are going to be global. Guys, I'm sorry. Okay, just give me a second. I'm going to be completely honest. I can't hold it anymore. I've been holding it too long. So, guys, stay classy for me real quick. I will be back very, very shortly. I will be back very, very shortly. Very, very shortly, I will. Play ads? Oh, yeah, that's... Thank you. Very, very shortly, I'll be back. Okay, okay, settle down now. Settle down. Chat, settle down. I forgot the ads. Oh, I forgot to set the timer. Frick. That's okay. I'll give you guys more ads later. Don't worry. Next time I go to the bathroom. Only when I go to the bathroom I'll play ads. Okay, sorry. Continuing on. What are some interesting hiccups or bugs that you guys hit in redeveloping vanilla? There was a bug when two priests mind control each other. The mind control itself would cancel out, but the camera would still switch to each other. The result is both priests would be stuck watching each other move around, which is hilarious and very confusing. I would love to see that. That's amazing. Please switch out the music. Here, let me fix this for you. Could you clarify what the intended limits are and how players will know that the player cap for a certain dungeon? This was an indeed bug that we fixed, and you should be able to enter most lower level dungeons with up to 10 players, as was possible in the original WoW 1.12. There are some dungeons that had specific caps by the end of the original WoW. However, to be specific, all lower level dungeons available through Moradon should have a player cap of 10, with Blackrock Depths, Skullman, Strathholm, and Darmall being capped at 5 players. As was the case in original WoW 1.12, Blackrock Spire should also have a cap of 10 players. So, this is something we talked about on stream the last couple days of the beta. Somebody went back and they looked at a video. Wait. I don't want to get lost here. Somebody went back they looked at the video. Oh, let's see. Burning Crusade. What was the video? Burning Crusade. Dead Mines 10 man. Let's try YouTube. YouTube. With YouTube. Okay. Is it a private server video? I want to show you guys this. Somebody found this video. Level 70 players going into Dead Mines. So that means this worked even in Burning Crusade. This worked even in Burning Crusade, going Dead Mines 10 man with level 70 people. And as it turns out, somebody found a list somewhere. As it turns out, these actually were meant to be 10-man dungeons, and it wasn't the case in the beta. It even says in August of 2006, Dead Mines 10-man, Wailing Caverns 10-man. All this stuff is 10-man. So then there was some thought about, like, you know, especially with dungeon grinding being meta and stuff now, is it better to go in with a raid group? I didn't know this because I'm going to be honest with you. Two things. One, most people did not want to do these dungeons with a raid group because then they can't do their quests. Two, you don't need to do these with a raid group. But if you want to, you do have the option of doing them. Don't you get no XP for a raid? You do get XP for a raid. Yeah. So yeah, that's just something to consider, I guess. Now you know what I wish would have happened? I wish we could have gone into this during a stress test, 10-man Dead Mines. I think would have been really fun, but hey, it's how it goes. Could you specify a little about how you'll handle quest hubs like Thorium Point, Silithus, Jinth the Lore? as well as other later phases quests, which will be available from the beginning of phase 1 and which will come later. Oh, I skipped a question. I'll go back. Mentioned earlier, there will be some exploration and discovery to this, so I can't dig super deep into exact specifics around when individual quests, items, or rep items will be available. Painting in broad strokes, however, Thorium Point and Genthal lore quests should be available during phase 1. Most quests in Cenarian Hold will be available during phase 5, along with the AQ gate opening contact. The general methodology was to make quests, recipes, items, and the like available when it makes sense to do so and feels relevant to the rest of the available content. Will the skeletons that appear when someone dies be the same as it was originally? Right now, they disappear after you die again. They used to stay longer than that. While we understand this was a flavorful part of original WoW in the early expansions, individual players leaving multiple player corpses and skeletons throughout the game world can lead to behavior such as spelling out advertisements, hate speech, and other negative messages. As such, this will not be a part of WoW Classic. I mean, how often did this happen? Like, it happened a lot. I don't know about this. And here's the thing, I'm gonna be honest, I don't care about this. This is an issue, but I don't remember this happening. Like, I think having a bunch of dead bodies laying around after a big battle is so cool. I don't know, man. Like, I think you're taking away a huge part of like it's not the end of the world, don't get me wrong, but it's like a huge part of like the aesthetic, like the like battlefield aspect of like, okay, you go into Blackrock Mountain. Oh, dude, going into Blackrock Mountain, you go in and you turn the corner and then you just see a pile of skeletons. And you're like, oh, frick. Like, we've got to be careful. Because something is coming at us right now. There's people here. There's action. I think it's cool. I don't know. I mean, hate speech is bad. It's wrong, right? I don't care if people are spelling out advertisements. And I don't recall this being a huge issue. I mean, maybe I'm being ignorant, but I don't think this is going to be that big of an issue, or this would have been that big of an issue, right? How are you going to handle world buffs? Are they going to be enabled at the launch of each new 40-man raid, or will they be disabled for a certain length of time? I used to think spelling out advertisements with corpses was really clever and more of a, oh, that's fun than the chat spam. Esfand, I liked it. Yeah, well, I just don't care, right? How are you going to handle world buffs? Are they going to be enabled at the launch of each new 40-man raid, or will they be disabled for a certain length of time to make the raid more difficult? World buffs are going to function exactly as they did in 1.12, which is to say that they will remain available and will not be restricted when new phases are rolled out. Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer will have a cooldown. We've talked about this on Daily Dose before. You will need to wait for the current Onyxia or Nefarian head to despawn before being able to regain the buffs from a new turn-in. There is a bug in Classic that exists in retail. Hunter and Warlock pets take an absurd amount of time to respond to commands. So far, Blizzard has refused to even acknowledge this bug when people bring it up. Can you please acknowledge it and tell us when it will be fixed? This, I can tell you right now, this is a Reddit comment. I can read this right now. There's two places where I could read a comment like this. There's two places where I could read a comment like this that's so like pretentious and just I demand this to be fixed. There's two places. One is Reddit. The other one, Alex Sensual's Discord. Yeah. The other one is Alex's Discord. Can you please acknowledge it and tell us when it will be fixed? Pets should not take about 1 second to respond to commands to attack, switch targets, or back off. We fixed several bugs with pet commands throughout the WoW Classic beta, thanks to a ton of super detailed reports from the beta and stress tests. As several posters have pointed out, we resolved many of the issues with pet responsiveness already, and I can confirm that several recent bug fixes have brought Hunter and Warlock pet responsiveness well in line with their behavior in the reference client. If any other issues pop up, we'll be quick to investigate them and take action as needed. And there we go. Now, I think it's funny. It's like refused to even acknowledge this bug. They've talked about like plenty of issues with like pets and hunters and this and that. So as several posters have pointed out, we've resolved many of the issues with pet responsiveness. So overall, what did you guys think? How did you guys feel about the AMA? I think that having an AMA like this, having community interaction like this, is really good. I think overall they answered a lot of questions here. I think people are used to a lot of. I think people are used to a lot of like Blizzard type answers from seeing like the retail Q&As they do, and it's like, okay, a bunch of non-answers, like, okay, this is whatever, this is boring, they're not really getting anywhere. I think that's how people feel a lot of times about the retail stuff. I think generally speaking, I think they've done a really good job with the classic stuff. They've been active with the community. They've been getting better. It's not great, but they've been getting much better, and they're you can tell that they're actively trying to work on it, like kind of working with content creators and stuff like that, which is good because it's like it's an avenue to kind of like get feedback from us, from like, well, we see people who feel this way, right? Which is cool. That's good. I think overall I've been really happy with the classic team so far. I'm actually like I'm genuinely impressed, and I think that if things keep going this way, and maybe if they would approach the retail game the way that the classic team has approached the game, I would hope to see the game start moving in a better direction as well. It looks like they're kind of enjoying bringing, quote, real WoW back as well. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that I think that this is a project that a lot of people, even working at Blizzard, are really, really excited for, and they're really excited to see. And I think this is a project that a lot of people at Activision are really excited to see the results of their increased size of their wallets. So that's certainly going to be a thing too for them. But yeah, that's just kind of how it goes. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is empty. Thank you for joining me for Daily Dose of Classic. I am going to keep the stream going. This is just, I'm cutting off the YouTube video here. So guys, if you came in late, if you missed anything, if you want to go back and watch anything, youtube.com/esfandtv, sub to my channel, hit the bell for notifications. I'm going to be posting a lot on YouTube. I'm going to do more edited content and stuff for my YouTube channel. I'm working on getting a team of editors. Professor Akali is probably going to be managing my channel. So everybody in chat, say bye YouTube. Everybody wave bye YouTube, bye YouTube. We're going to keep watching on Twitch. Twitter.com/esfandtv, Discord esfandtv, Instagram esfandtv, everything esfandtv. Get involved in the community and get ready for WoW Classic to come out in 6 days. In 6 days. We'll see you guys next time.